Hey, what's up? It's me, Lex, back at you with another Pathfinder video. This one is a quick aside for a new book I just published. It's called Weird Initiative. It's a supplement that I wrote. It is meant to be a alternative rules system for initiative. It works best in real life rather than on a virtual tabletop, but it works plenty fine on a virtual tabletop as well. The design goal of it was to port the initiative style from Robert J. Schwab's Shadow of the Weird Wizard over to Pathfinder 2nd Edition. So I made some changes and mechanical clarifications to make that function. Essentially, how it works is rather than rolling for initiative, as you do in the normal Pathfinder system, it takes place in 5 phases each round. The phases loop back in on themselves, and creatures will act during a phase in any order they wish. There's the initiative phase, and this is something that players can do. I'll touch on in a minute, but if you use a reaction, you can go before monsters. The recovery phase, where all sorts of recovery happens. If someone is dying, they'll make their checks here. The enemy phase, where all of the enemies present in the battle act, so you can see here that by default the monsters will go first. And then the party phase, where any player characters who did not take the initiative take their turns, and then the cleanup phase, where the GM takes the turns of anything else that's left in the encounter. So usually that'll be allies or like any neutral sorts of hazards that aren't on the opposition side, etc. I'll go into the new features first, because I think that's probably the most relevant thing. As a reminder, the standard cycle for a round will be that the enemies will take their turns, then the party will take their turns, then anything else will take its turns. The initiative phase and the recovery phase are basically not going to come up super often. Well, I guess I shouldn't say that. They don't come up automatically. They require something else in context to occur. The biggest new feature is the Take the Initiative reaction. To act first takes tactical sacrifice, but it's a cost that can often be worthwhile. All player characters and only player characters can use the Take the Initiative reaction when the initiative phase is about to begin. So at the very end of the cleanup phase, basically, like as it's transferring. You can use your reaction to take your turn during the initiative phase rather than the party phase, but you can't use reactions then until the beginning of the next round. So this means that you can only take the initiative every other round. And the strain of taking the initiative is obvious to any intelligent observer who sees you act during the initiative phase, so they'll know you can't react to their actions. It's this kind of tactical balance, and I have a few examples up here, the 2 scenarios, but the TLDR of how this is useful and how it creates some kind of engaging gameplay is, I think, best exemplified by the first one here. If the party encounters a dragon, and the dragon rolls well on initiative, it can just breath weapon all of them, whereas under this initiative system, they could use the Take the Initiative reaction to scatter and make it so that its breath weapon can't catch all of them. And then there's this tactical balance too of like the champion is, has been taking the defending exploration action and already has, a pretty tanky build going. The rogue's gonna stay next to the champion so that the champion can react, because the rogue has a really good reflex save. And so both of them get to keep their reactions on the first round by not taking the initiative. As the other 2 scatter, the dragon will breath weapon them. It's this kind of a tactical teamwork combination. And then as for some modified features that would not work under this modification unless you added them, I have the scouting exploration activity, which is changed to during the next encounter while you're scouting, you take your turn, your first turn during the initiative phase without taking the initiative, which means you also get to use reactions, and it even means you could take the initiative and act first on the second round in addition. The delay action also doesn't work, So it has been changed to a non-triggered free action. It's just a free action you can take during your turn on the initiative phase. It lets you end your turn, and you continue it during the party phase with any remaining actions. So if during the initiative phase you wanted to move into position for whatever reason, maybe to just intercede yourself between the enemies and your party, you could do so, and then you could take the rest of your actions with the rest of your team, because they're going to be able to then buff you, aid you, get into flanking with you, etc. There are also a couple of new features that I added, specifically added a pair of general feats. The first one is proactive. When you use the delay action, you can choose to resume your turn at the end of any enemy's turn during the enemy phase. If you don't do so, you take your turn during the party phase as normal. But essentially this will let you react to things that monsters are doing. And then the lookout general feat, where when you're scouting, you can choose to apply its benefit to an ally rather than yourself. And if you have at least master proficiency in perception, you can do that to yourself and an ally, or 2 allies. And then I even have a few design principles I wanted to touch on that I have listed in the book that should hopefully guide you through the thought process on why I think this style of initiative is very worthwhile, even giving it a shot. I know that I'm probably going to alternate back and forth between rolling for initiative and using this, depending on the context, just because it's fun. But I have some acknowledgement of what you should do if you or your players surprise a creature. And so for the example here, I have it as with default Pathfinder, the supplement assumes creatures gain their reaction during the first round of combat unless they're surprised. But I also tag on that you might allow the party to act during the initiative phase for free if they set up a particularly effective ambush. And then the other way around, if non-player characters ambush the party, it'll naturally function this way, because the party not having their reactions won't be able to take the initiative, and so the monsters will get to go first unless someone is scouting. And then it makes sense. They're scouting, they're on like a hair trigger with their nerves, they're difficult to surprise. I also wanted to bring up real quick clumped initiative. This is something I've tested. Creatures taking their turns in batches can feel kind of swingy to some players, but the system is already designed to account for this, because even when rolling dice, it's an eventuality that will eventually happen. But if it ends up being an issue for you, if your players are finding a lot of distaste, I recommend just spending the first round with monsters as more of like a setup round. Make it so that they don't have their weapons ready, they set up formations, they ready the environment, like pick up, you know, maybe an improvised weapon, something like that, just to be ready to go. That can aid a lot with that player feeling. Monsters go first. This is talking about kind of a player perception issue, where why do the monsters get to go first and I have to spend my reaction? I would point out personally, of course it's very valid to not enjoy this style of game, but the idea here is that the monsters are always going to have the upper hand, but you have the agency. You can spend your reaction to go first. Monsters can't. There is no circumstance in which a monster is guaranteed to go before you as long as you have your reaction. And so, especially being given that agency, the example I gave before with the dragon's breath weapon, as I point out right here, you have the choice to scatter and avoid the breath weapon, whereas before it would be left to chance if you rolled high enough on initiative or not. I also wanted to touch on the recovery phase. Normally, in Pathfinder 2nd Edition, as I'm sure everyone knows, your initiative moves so that your party gets a full round to get you back up. And so it's kind of difficult to find where to put the recovery phase, or where to put how to handle dying players, have it at like the end of the phase in which they died, something like that. But putting it right here actually has an interesting knock-on effect, where taking the initiative has this additional cost of being more dangerous. You gain a lot of benefit by being able to go first, and so having the recovery phase be directly after that means that it's very dangerous. It also makes it so that if someone gets knocked down during the enemy phase, then the party will have the entire player phase and the ability to take the initiative and use the initiative phase to try and recover that ally. So it has kind of this double effect where taking the initiative is more dangerous, but you have plenty of opportunity to handle it, even then, but even otherwise. And then finally, the biggest thing, and this is the primary goal of it, alongside the ability for players to have this kind of constant interaction with how they're going to play out their turns, is teamwork. If everything is kind of put together, everyone is taking their turn in any order within the party phase or within the take the initiative phase, it means that there's a lot more back and forth between the players. They can have more collaborative discussions. Specifically, I tag at the bottom here, no more interrupting your allies to ask them to delay for you, because that's something that has always bugged me with the standard style of initiative. It's a reasonable thing. You know, I love Pathfinder's initiative system. I think it's a lot of fun. I think delay is awesome. But having your initiatives stacked up in the turn tracker, and you have to ask someone else, oh wait, I'm a bard, I'm gonna use Courageous Anthem, give me a sec, alright? Let me take my turn first. It's always been a little weird. But anyways. And then finally I have a few mechanical distinctions that make it all function, which is that any effects that end at the beginning or end of a creature's following turns, so at the beginning of your next turn, at the end of your next turn, etc., do so at the beginning or ending of the matching phase that many rounds later, or the phase in which the player takes their turn, whichever comes first. So, for example, if you cast a spell that lasts until the beginning of your next turn during the party phase, then it would end at the beginning of the next round's party phase, unless you took the initiative, in which case it would end at the beginning of the initiative phase. The idea here is that you can't take the initiative to stack up on effects, and it's the same idea as delaying. You can't delay to make things last longer or to put away various effects. It's the same thing here. You can't take the initiative to take more advantage of something than you could otherwise. Anyways, other than that, I have a little demonstration for you. I just have this set up. I have Tanneman, Zilta, and Exxa here on the roof of the Flying Rook. Again, Milby's maps. I'm going to be using this map, I think, in the future quite a lot. I'll have that linked down below. These are our 3 party members. I have a set of goblin allies, and then a beholder who is going to be facing them. This is a homebrew beholder I wrote up. I'm not sure if I have published it anywhere. I'll upload it to my GitHub as a JSON that you can import onto an NPC token. Anyways, they're not going to go all out. I'm not going to simulate an actual combat here, but the idea is to show how acting would occur. The party is going to ascend the stairs. They see the beholder. There's a big old role play. They're going back and forth. The beholder's like, you die now. And then I'm like, alright, you're entering encounter mode. And Tanneman is going to go ahead and take the initiative here because he's not surprised. He has his reaction, and so he can do so. So, first, top of the round, we're going to have the initiative phase. Tanneman is going to, like dart up, kick the beholder, and then back up a little bit, something like that. Then we'll go to the monster phase. The beholder is going to be like floating around, chuckling, shooting off magic eye laser beams. Like I said, I'm not taking this too serious. And a serious one is going to hit Exxa and drop Exxa to the ground, and Exxa will begin dying. Then we will move to the party phase as the beholder's taken its turn. Zilta is the only person who is going to act during this phase because Tanneman took the initiative. So Zilta is going to rush over and try to treat Exxa's wounds, or first aid, I believe, to stabilize, but will fail. And then we're going to move to the cleanup phase. And these 4 goblins are just going to rush the beholder and start like clambering all over it. Oh, that's adorable. Yeah, trying to stab their blades through its side. It's like rotating slowly through the air to try to knock them off. And then we go to the beginning of a new round. Tanneman cannot, or we're about to go to the beginning of a new round. At the end of the cleanup phase here, Tanneman, having taken the initiative, cannot do so again because he cannot react until this round begins. Zilta, however, can, and so will take the initiative. During the initiative phase here, Zilta is going to try to apply first aid to Exxa, and will fail again. Very unfortunate luck here for Zilta, who will then use an action to pull out a healing potion. Then we go to the recovery phase, and Exxa will make a dying check and increase to dying 2. Then we will go to the monster phase. The beholder is going to be, rotating. It'll fling these goblins off. This warrior smacks into the pillar. The commando is going to hold on tight. The pyro hops off of its own volition. As the beholder starts shooting out more eye beams, etc. Then we move to the party phase. Tanneman is going to continue to try to harass this beholder and keep its attention. Zilta will shout over, Exxa needs help, something like that. And then we're going to go to the cleanup phase, and the goblins are going to be moving in to attack the beholder again. Back to the top, we're at the initiative phase, which Tanneman is going to take the initiative. He will run over, grab the healing potion from Zilta, feed it to Exxa, who will wake up with, 10 HP, and be able to act during the party phase. And that's just an illustration of how this could play out, how simple it is to run. You don't need to track anything, really. The easiest part about it is that it really is just you enter a phase, everyone gets to act, and then you move to the next phase. And you do that over and over. The most difficult thing, and the thing that makes it, in some respects, more difficult to run on a virtual tabletop than in real life, is that specifically Foundry Virtual Tabletop already has effect automation. So, for example, if Zilta were to cast, I'll just go with Fear, and apply Frightened to Tanneman or to the beholder, then using the normal initiative automation, that Frightened would be automatically removed by some of the modules I use, and that's not something that will be done with Weird Initiative, but it's easy enough to track since everything happens all at once. You can just be like, okay, monsters, beginning of turn stuff, monsters, end of turn stuff. Cool, we're on to the party. Party beginning of turn stuff. Take your turns, end of turn stuff, etc. So it's not a big deal at all. I would say so, anyway. And I think it has its virtues. Let me know what you think of it. Let me know if you use it down below. I will be linking it. It's free, as all of my writings up till now have been. I believe I already said, let me know what you think of it. Anyways, like the video if you liked it. Subscribe if you want to see more. I will see you all next time. See ya. See ya.